Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to week 22. Can't believe how much time is flying by, and it's June already. Can you believe that? Looking forward to, let me make sure my volume's off. Okay, so looking forward to drawing today for our week 22 project. And we are going to make a Desert Blooms bracelet using our new Desert Blooms crystal kit that we've got. I'm also using a couple things from our metal mix kit that we've got for sale. So, hey Janelda, glad you could make it. Hope you're having a good day. So we in Arizona, we're very happy in here in Tucson today because we woke up to rain this morning. Yay, we so needed it. The blooms will be really happy. Hey Marianica. So we're supposed to get more rain today. That's all good because our cactus and all our other plants and stuff need water. So very excited about that. Let's see, what do we have going on today? Not a whole lot. So I did decide to make a project today with our Desert Blooms kit. So we're going to make a Desert Blooms bracelet. I know, that's hard to say. So I got to quit saying that too much. But I hope you guys have had a great week, and I hope you're ready. It's June. So it's meteorological summer now, in case you didn't consider it summer after last weekend's Memorial Day weekend. But summer's here. I'm happy to say that we're only supposed to be in the 90s this week, so for us, that's pretty good. But let's see. If you're new to us, please say hello. Let me know where you're coming in from. If you're catching the replay, let me know that you're watching. I love to know who's catching up with us. And if you're new here and don't quite know what Bead Stash Challenge is, we have a few decks of cards. We're up to 5 decks now. And these cards are designed so get you out of any kind of sort of a design rut you might be in, or just to get you to use what's in your bead stash. So if you are a beader, even if you're new, you know, you buy beads because they're cool, but then you don't always know what to do with them. And I realize there are some people out there and they can look at the beads and they know exactly what they're going to do with them when they bring them home. I am not one of those. I buy the beads because they're cool and I try to think about it and figure it out later, which I know there's a lot of people that do that too. And if you've been doing this a while at all, you've got large quantities of beads to use, and sometimes you forget what you have. So the great thing about Bead Stash Challenge cards is it actually forces you to go look through your stash and use some things that you had either forgotten about or been sitting around for a while. So if you're interested in any of that, please message me. I sell through Facebook. What happens is we will work through Messenger. You can do it on Instagram too. As well as you can talk to me on YouTube. But what we do, you know, is as soon as you do that, then we can put together your order. I do offer discounts if you buy multiple items, and I send invoices via email when you can pay with, I believe, a Cash App, a direct deposit from your checking account or credit card. So it's all up to you, but I do need an email in order for me to invoice you. So our cards run from $12 to $16 depending on which decks you want, and we have multiple bead mixes. So anyways, all that stuff's in our group. So if you haven't already, please join our group. There is a link on this video if you're watching it live. If not, our group is the Bead Stash Challengers group, and it's a great place to see get some inspiration, see what we've made. I do keep an album of all the projects I've made on there, as well as you'll see what other people post. And if you post, you get in for our monthly drawing. So every month I give away something. You never know what it's going to be. But for May, we are giving away these little cowboy boot earrings, which include crystals from our Desert Blooms bead mix, which we're going to work with today. The boots are from our Desert Metal Mix, in case you're interested in that. I look forward to seeing what you're drawing today, Janelda. Anyways, this is our giveaway. What I normally do is I gather the names and I put them in my app, and then we do a random drawing. This month I only had 2 people that posted things, Janelda and Lorraine. And since Lorraine won last month's prize, Janelda, I'm not even going to do a drawing. You get the little boot earrings that we made last week. So that's where we are with our giveaway. So let's go ahead and flip the camera over and we'll start drawing the cards, and I'll talk a little bit more about our cards. So I am going to zoom in a bit extra today because I think you need to see the project better. So, all right, there we go. So, for those of you that don't know what we're doing, so Bead Stash Challenge has 3 different types of cards. We have a base deck, which you should buy the base deck, no matter what other decks you might want to buy, and you can do a lot with just the base deck. But the first kind of card in your deck is the make cards, and like I said, we have this base deck, and then I have expansion decks, and expansion decks just add to the cards. Some of them have all 3 types of cards. Some of them only have 2 types of cards. Actually, I think every deck has at least 2 types. Okay. So anyways, the make cards is exactly what you would think it is. It is what we're going to make this week. So we are going to make ear wires, okay? So if I wanted to, I could stop right now and I could just say, okay, I'm going to make ear wires this week. Well, obviously I'm going to make some earrings, right? So let's go ahead and look at our second deck of cards, which is our use cards. So these are the things that you're going to pull out of your stash to use in your project, okay? So my project really is earrings, but I have to hand make my ear wires, so no problem. Okay. So the use cards, like I said, are things you're going to pull out of your stash. And I just want to let you guys know that I have cards from all of our decks mixed in here. Now my pile's kind of small at the moment because I've been drawing for 22 weeks now. So I set those cards aside so that we go through all of them. And normally I draw 3 cards because I think it's a good level of challenge. So anyways, okay, so we're going to use lapis. That is from our new deck. Now, if you don't have lapis in your stash, lapis comes in a couple different colors, but this is the dark, so it's either a dark blue, anywhere from a denim to kind of a royal blue. So if you do not own any lapis, which you might not, just use something blue in your design, okay? We're supposed to use pastel colors in our design. Okay, now this card is from our color expansion deck. And I'm using clear beads in my design, which is also from our color expansion deck. So just a reminder, our decks that we currently have, we have the color expansion deck. Let me pull out my cards here, what we have. So like I said, you want to start with deck 1, and that's the basics. Then we have the color expansion deck, which is all things color. So that is mostly used cards and I think a couple of challenge cards. There are no make cards in this deck, which is why you have to have deck 1 to work with it. Then last summer we also put out the Sun and Sea expansion. This thing is all summer, all ocean-based things. Now the Sun and Sea expansion does have all 3 decks, 3 types of cards, so you could use it by itself if you really wanted to. Then we had the non-jewelry and findings expansion. So what this adds is a bunch of things to make that are non-jewelry items, so, and findings. So like making ear wires comes from our non-jewelry and findings expansion deck. And it has mostly make cards and use cards. Okay. And then our newest deck is our Desert Southwest expansion, which is a bunch of desert themed things. Like the Sun and Sea deck, it has stuff from all 3 types of cards. So again, you could use it independently as well, but you know, it's just you'll have a very focus level stuff. So as always, if you draw cards and you don't have that particular thing in your stash, you can set it aside until you get that thing in your stash, or you can just draw again, or you can just draw again. And like I said, you can draw just 1 card, or you can draw 3 cards, or you can draw 5 cards. You know, however many makes you happy. All right. So our third kind of card is our challenge cards. And so challenge cards, what they do is they add a theme or some sort of a design aspect to whatever you're going to make. So in this case, I just drew. I have to use at least 3 types of findings in my design. So if you're new and don't really understand what that is, so we'll pull these as an example. Findings, so my ear wires count as a finding. A charm counts as a finding. And then we had head pins. Those counts as a finding. So here's an example of a project with 3 types of findings in there. So findings are typically, you know, your metal pieces that you use along with your beads. Okay. But anyways, I think I can do that. Now, every once in a while you'll get a drawing and you'll think, you know, like last year, a couple times I put things away and redrew. Like when I had to make pink earrings, for a man, I decided to put the man card back and use it a different time. So I thought making pink earrings manly was a little too much of a challenge for what I wanted to do. But sometimes you get things like using stretch wire with a clasp. But we did that. And so, you know, think about it a little bit before you put it back. But don't feel like you have to stick to it if it's something that's really going to make your head hurt and not be fun. Because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun. And I have to say, you know, I've been doing this now for about a year and a half, every week, and I have made a ton of things that I would have never made. Okay. It's really pushed my designs in all sorts of directions. So don't be afraid of it. And quite honestly, sometimes you know, sometimes actually I use it because it kind of just tells me what to do, and I can be creative, and I don't have to come up from scratch with whatever I'm going to do. Okay. So just realize that those things, you know, it'll have a different effect on different people. But the one effect it should have on everybody is that you use stuff out of your bead stash. All right, so I am going to make a bracelet today. And we're going to use our the crystals from our new desert bead mix. Okay. And then I also have a couple of metal beads that I'm going to throw in. These are also in our desert metal mix. Now, you know, you could use whatever you want if you just have the bead mix, or quite honestly, you can use beads from your stash to make this. I also have some smaller metal beads just because I think I might want them for the project I'm doing today. I'm going to use fine soft flex wire, so you'll see in a little bit, in a minute, why I'm going to use fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to be making a bracelet with some flowers. So these are going to be our desert blooms. Now, you'll see as in our group, as well as on the Desert Cat Creations page, I've posted quite a few things with desert blooms. And typically, the blooms have a yellow center, but there's also yellow blooms, so you could make a yellow flower as well. But we're going to make a bracelet using this flower design, okay? So let's get some beads out. Now, this collection of beads, you may think it's kind of random, but they're all based on blooms that I see all of the time here in the desert on cactus. So that's why it's our cactus blooms. Now the purple, I have yet to see a cactus with a purple bloom, but we have purple cactus. So the cactus part itself is this kind of grayish lavender color. But feel free to make a flower out of purple. We do have plants that have purple flowers, just not, like I said, haven't seen a cactus with a purple flower yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So, I had I thought I had gotten a, I'm just going to use a lobster clasp for this, but apparently I did not go one out, even though I thought I did. That's fine. We'll get one out. So like I said, if you're interested in when we finish this, these metal beads are in our metal mix, which I picked these because they remind me of a cactus. So it's got the stripes, which are, a lot of cactus have the, you know, the kind of, I don't know, the texture of the cactus between these stripes, and then the little dots kind of represent the thorns. I think they're a good representation of a cactus. All right. So to do this bracelet, you can't work off the spool because you need to have both ends of your wire. So I am going to pull some. And so, you know, typical bracelet, 7 inches, you're going to have double wire. So you need the 14 inches there, and then you need another probably 7 inches. So I'm going to do like, I think, I think if, I think I will do, let's see, 24 inches. Yeah, I think it looks like prickly pear cactus. All right, I'm going to do about 30 inches of wire here, which is probably more than I need, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to put my clasp on one end of this wire. And I'm going to put it so it ends up being in the middle of the wire. And then I am going to add a crimp, just I guess I don't know, you know, if you guys are seed beaters, you may have made flower bracelets that are similar to this. Now, since I'm using fine wire, I have an option here. I could either put some additional wire in here so that I can use my magic crimper, or I can just use my regular crimper, and we'll add a probably add a crimp cover later. So I'm just going to use my regular crimper. So you do the back part, which gives you the taco shaped thing. Then you want to turn your taco sideways in the front part and squeeze. Yeah. And then I am going to use just my pair of pliers, and I'm just going to squeeze, give that an extra squeeze so it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. All right, so first thing I want to do is I am going to put some, I'm not going to make the whole thing flowers, so you see a lot of seed bead designs that make a really dainty little flower bracelet. But we are just going to make a couple flowers, so I'm going to go ahead and just string a couple beads on here. So when we make these flowers, they end up being about an inch, you know, with the beads on either side. So to make a 7-inch bracelet, I don't know if you guys can see this. So right now, I'm at 2 inches there. All right, so, and I'm going to use these lighter green ones. Both greens, you know, cactus come in dark and light green, so. All right, so now I'm going to start making the flower. So I've got, you know, just a few beads strung on here. So I need to pick what color flowers I'm going to make. And so I've got my yellow center, and I'm going to do 3 flowers, okay? So I want to make one pink. Right. And then I'm going to make one that's sort of red burgundy color, and I think I'll make one orange. And you need 6 beads plus the center bead for each flower. I think because the pink ones are a different a little different. I'm going to put them in the middle since everything else is opaque. And that's happened because my beautiful crystals from Beadoria, they didn't have any opaque pink. So, all right. So now you'll understand why you have 2 wires. So I'm going to take my first bead and I'm going to put wires through going in opposite directions. So you'll see I have one end coming out, one end coming out. So your bead is kind of in the middle of an X, and then I'm just going to pull it down to the bottom, and you want to pull it tight, okay? So your bead is like that, your wires are going out to the side. And then you're going to put 2 beads on each side of the wire. All right, and then I'm going to put my center bead, and I'm going to put both wires through it going the same direction. Okay, so both ends are coming out the top. Now, before you get too tight down here, so the wires are going up. You're going to flip this so you have sort of a heart shape there. See that heart? And then I am going to take one wire and I'm going to stick it through those 2 beads on the one side. And then you're going to take the other wire, stick it through the 2 beads on the other side. So you end up with sort of a figure 8 using the center bead. I've got a circle over here and a circle over here. And now I'm just going to pull those wires tightly. And, you know, you may have the wires on the opposite sides or whatever. And now I'm going to take my final bead for that flower. And again, I'm going to put the wires through in opposite directions. Now, you know, if you're doing with this, you don't have to use beading wire. You could use fish line for this because you just need something that's flexible and allows you to and it will fit through your bead twice. So there's our first bloom. So the question is, you know, do we need... At first I was going to separate these by with something in between, but I think I may not because they end up, I may think my bracelet may end up too long. So let's try it. So, all right, so now we're going to make our next flower. So again, oh, I'm glad. I didn't know, you know, I see these bracelets. I just don't know how common it is that people do these. I will admit, I kind of had to look up how to make them. So we'll put this next flower on and we'll see if we feel like we need something separating them. But again, so I put the first bead on with the wires going in opposite directions. Then we're going to put 2 beads on. And you could make a full bracelet with the flowers. I just decided that I wanted to incorporate some of the metal and just make a few flowers. And like I said, I think I've seen this design used mostly with, you make yours a little differently, okay. I'm sure this is not the only way, but when I was reviewing how some people who had made projects made them, this was how they did them. So, all right. So remember, we got our bead going the opposite direction. Oh, see, I already did that wrong. Put the center bead, they both have to be going the same direction. And then we're going to flip it over. Again, we're kind of making that heart shape. And we're grabbing one wire and sticking it up there. up through those 2 beads, and then we're going to take the other side through the other 2 beads. Again, I sort of have that heart-shaped and circles and all going there. And like I said, you just want to pull it tight as you can. Now, I have to say, so I don't love how that sits there. Maybe I just need to tighten those wires up. What do you think? Do I need a bead in between my flowers? I'll tell you what, let's put this last bead on here. Remember, this one's going in opposite directions. And then we'll put a bead on and we'll start the other one and see what it looks like. See if we think we want something separating them. So I suppose what I could do is put beads on either side of that to cover up sort of the here, let's try it. We're going to take our small beads that we have here, and these small beads are not in the metal mix. I don't think it really matters what you use, but we'll try 2 different ways here and see what we like best, okay? So, and then remember, I'm putting that first bead on there with the wires going in opposite directions. I think already I do kind of like What do you think, Janelda? Do you like the beads on the side? So that's how the bead on the side looks. Or we can do it like this. And where we put it on both things going the same direction. And as I realize now, I'm going to have to backtrack since I wanted beads in between. But yeah. And you do have to, since I'm using this beading wire as opposed to something completely flexible, you do have to kind of keep control of your wire a little bit. All right, so here's option B, is just the 1 bead in between them. I think I like the 1 bead. Sorry if you... All right, so I'm gonna have to take my pink flower off. Yeah, I don't know if you could see, if you could see that well enough. So I think, you know, putting the one bead in between makes it a little longer. Putting beads on both sides, if you're worried about it being too long, could certainly just add to that. So, but I think we'll try it with just the one bead. Now, you know, when I was making or messing around with my little sample flower, I actually put some green beads in between, you know, because you would have leaves or cactus pads showing up between your flowers. So like I said, you do have to do a little maneuvering here. To make sure this gets in there. Good and tight. And I'm pulling it, I want it tight so, well, I mean, because, you know, I don't want my beads flopping around, but I also just don't want a lot of excess wire sticking out. So now if I'd used a pretty color wire, which I'm pretty sure that you can get fine in at least a few, at least the metallics. I'm pretty sure they have white too for. All right, so I put the 2 beads on both sides. Remember, and then my center bead, I am going in the same direction, and then we are flipping these wires around, putting it back up from the bottom through those 2 beads. Same thing on the other side. All right, so I want to make sure everything's pushed down here. Okay. All right, then we're going to put our bead on. Remember, going opposite directions. Pull that good and tight. And let's put our bead on so we can do our 3rd flower. Now, if I was going to make a full bracelet with flowers, like I said, I think you need about 1 inch per flower. Yeah. It's not too bad, but so far it's not hurting my hands, other than it just keeps slipping out, so I have to keep redoing it. But all right, let's go on for our next flower, start our 3rd one. But as I was saying, so if you want to make a full bracelet with just flowers, I would calculate about a flower an inch, so you probably need 6 flowers unless you have more than, I would probably do 6 flowers and then use maybe a toggle clasp or a button, just because these are kind of big, right? So you want something that complements your design. All right, so got our 2 beads on either side. And you know, you don't have to use 3 different colors. I'm choosing 2, but I could have made them all the same color. I could have made, you know, the 2 on either side, a single color, or whatever. All right, let's flip this over. And then put up one side and then through the other side. So not on purpose, but almost on all of these, it ends up twisting a little. And I will say, I think with the bead in the middle, it is a little harder to keep this aligned, but not impossible. So also, if you wanted to make the full thing, you know, basically be 6 flowers, I would say you need at least 3 feet of wire. I would probably even consider using more than that, quite honestly, just so you don't run out. All right. So we have our 3 flowers there, yay. So then we want to match it up to the other side. So let's do our green. And then our prickly pear beads. And hopefully this isn't too long. There's a whole lot of adjustments that I can do except for take out some of these spacer beads, right? All right, let's see what we've got here. So we're actually, it's actually kind of short. So let me stick it on my arm just to see. All right, so we may want to add I'm not going to go back and remake my flowers, but just for reference, you might want to add something there. I think I will just add one more of these prickly pear beads. And I, realized that I still have to make my loop, so I could make a loop. I could add a ring. I'm just going to make a loop, though. Yeah, probably. You could use wildfire. And it might sit better. I just, I would use some, at least 6-pound wildfire, I guess, if I was going to do that. But I think, like I said, it'll be a little off when it's laying down, but when it's on your wrist, you can make it straight. So one thing to remember, so since I am using a, lightweight clasp, and these flowers are going to be heavier, having that metal is going to hopefully help the bracelet so it's not always swinging around to the bottom. All right, so I'm going to put that on there. Now the good news is I could either double up my loop, which I'm not going to. I'm just going to put one of these back through, and I'm going to string it back through a few of the beads, because you always want to tuck in some extra wire. You like the one bead? Okay, that's good. All right, I am going to, now let me check. Let me see how this fits before I decide that I want a smaller loop. Or yeah, I think I can go a little smaller, although I need to make sure that I'm, not leaving gaps, because you don't want a bunch of extra wire showing. Unless you're using one of the pretty wires, right? So, all right. So again, we're using the 2-step crimper. So I am going to squeeze that to make the taco. Then I'm putting it in the front with the taco, the indent you want going vertical so that you're smashing it down over that indent. Okay, so, and then I like to do an extra squeeze with my pliers just to make sure that it doesn't want to go anywhere. All right. And now I am going to trim this. Got to be careful not to trim the main wire. And trim as close to that bead as I can. And we've got our Desert Blooms bracelet, which, you know me, I can no longer put on a bracelet without using my bracelet helper. So our bracelet helper we made. So I am going to put the clip on. I like to do the loop side, and then I am going to use my other hand, open my lobster, and clip it right in. All right. So there we go. It actually worked. We have our Desert Blooms, and it actually, see, that metal, that extra metal made it weighty enough that maybe the flowers will stay on top of my wrist. So there we have it. We have our sweet little Desert Blooms bracelet from our Desert Blooms bead mix. And like I said, you could use whatever you want here. like I said, I like these cactus beads. If you're watching and you feel like you can't afford both the crystals and the metal mix, I can probably sell you some of these separately. But if you can't afford it, I think you'll have a lot of fun with the metal mix. And if you wanted some other space, or the other thing I thought was, you know, we do have some, now that we had to add the extra on there, we could have put these little tiny flower beads separating our bigger flowers. I think that would have been sweet too. So anyways, all right, so that was our fun project for the day. We tried something new. I will be wearing my desert blooms around. So on Thursday we will be back. We'll be making earrings. We'll be making our own ear wires. And what are we using? We are using lapis, which lapis is a blue stone. It comes in sort of a light denim-y color to a dark, almost royal blue. And like I said, if you don't have it, just use any kind of blue stone or crystal. That works. We're also going to use pastel colors, so maybe we'll mix in some light blue or something in our project. We're going to use clear, so we'll add some sparkle. And we're going to use at least 3 types of findings. So that will be our fun project for Thursday, which we'll be back on at noon Pacific time because it is summer here in Arizona and we do not go on daylight savings. So we are an hour off from the rest of you from what you would normally think our mountain time is. Anyways, so if you haven't already, please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. I am trying to get my YouTube subscription numbers up so that I can go live on both YouTube and Facebook. But right now what I'm doing is I'm transferring these videos over. So since Facebook only saves videos for 30 days, if there's any of the projects you want to see and it's past the 30 days, you're going to have to look on our channel on YouTube. Okay. Now from last year, so I have until I think July 1st, technically to move any of my old videos. So this year I have moved everything from April forward, and I'm sorry, March is gone. None of the March videos got saved because I didn't realize that until after those disappeared that they had made the saving the videos and transferring them a lot simpler than it used to be. Okay. And then for last year's videos, I did not transfer all of them, but what I did is transfer the ones that I thought were really, you know, unique projects or, you know, any of our kit videos. So any of those ones that you might want to watch again. I did not transfer everything because a lot of times we just did some basic stringing, or basic wire wrapping. Most of those videos I did not transfer because, you know, we'll see it again, and we use those techniques a lot. So, but again, thank you for all your attention, business, likes. Liking videos, liking posts is very helpful because it does get me more attention with other people, and it's free. You don't even have to buy anything. And speaking of that, if you want to play along with us, now don't be intimidated that you didn't start at the beginning of the year. If you can still play along with us, you can start at any time. Don't worry about the week numbers. Just, you know, just jump in and play. If you have your own cards, you can draw your own cards. If you don't have your own cards, you can play with my cards. You can play with Janelda's cards. She always posts them. Lorraine often posts hers. You can play with hers. Just tell us whose cards you're playing off of to make your project. And like I said, all those posts in Bead Stash Challengers get you in for the June drawing. So hopefully we'll have a little more competition. So our only rule on the drawing is you only get one entry per month, no matter how many times you post, and you can't win 2 months in a row. So that's the only rules. Otherwise, it's random. Okay. So I hope that you'll join us, and maybe some of you'll have more time this summer and have time to play. We'd love to have you. So I will see you on Thursday at noon. And as always, if you have any questions, just message me and I'll be happy to help you out. If it's a question on how to do something, I'd be happy to video chat with you and see what we can do to help you out. So I want you all to have a great time and be creative. Yes, Janelda, those will be gone, I'm sure. Basically, Facebook takes them all the links away from my group, so you are going to end up with just a bunch of blank things. It's a new policy. I'm not sure what happens with, like, if I post a video. I think it's just the lives that they're taking away, okay? So I think, like, if I post a video that was recorded prior, not as part of a live, I think it stays, but I only have a couple of those, so I don't know. But, if I'm going to make the video and post it there, I can just as easily post it to YouTube. I love having the live option and being able to interact with people. I do realize when people are watching the videos on YouTube, and I'm talking to people, they can't see the comments because the comments don't transfer. So it's weird, but we're learning to live with it. And I still think the live community is worth participating in. We just, if, like I said, if you want to go back and watch a project, you get 30 days or you catch it on YouTube. All right. I will see you Thursday at noon. And hope you guys all have a safe and wonderful first week of summer, or second week, depending on how you count it, right? And those of you that are retired, every day is summer. All right. Stay safe and be creative. Bye.